Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Spaniard Show. This is going to be, here in 1 minute, AM Excellence 608, reading Fred Rogers' book, Mr. Rogers' book, biography about Mr. Rogers, written by Maxwell King, and it's tremendous. I'm coming down to the end, and I have to tell you something. Whenever I read these books, so for me, the tactile and the focus and concentration it takes to read a book, not just to read a book like zoom, where how people just speed through books and blast them out. Again, I read a book a day, a book a week, blah, 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 blah. To me, that's not what it's about. To me, it's about fully, F-U-L-L-Y, experiencing that book, processing that book, that digesting that book, applying that book, and then leaving that book with a new part of you, or an enhanced part of you, or a performance enhancing books, right? PEBs, PEBs, performance enhancing books. And as I wind down to the end of this book with Mr. Rogers, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little bit emotional. I'm wanting to go back to the beginning so I can re-experience this again. But I have Unplugged upstairs by Dr. Andy Galpin and Brian McKenzie, which I'm going to go into next. And then I have this bad boy, The Boys in the Boat, which I'm going to dive into. So, and then somewhere along the line, we're going to get into this one. Check this book out. Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions. So my friend Rich McGee, who is a plasma physicist, he was on my show and he recommended this book. It's kind of a physics book, and I don't even know what to expect, but it's a fictional book about, what do you say, about a square who meets a sphere. A square who meets a sphere. And I have plenty of other books, but I also just bought this book, which I'm tremendously excited to read. I don't know in what order, but I'm going to get to it. American Wife. Love, War, Faith, and Renewal. Taya Kyle, who is Chris Kyle's wife. Chris Kyle is the American Sniper. So this is a tremendous book that I'm very much looking forward to reading as well. All right, so let's jump into today's show, today's AM Excellence. In, out, bing, bang, boom, wham, zam, boom. Okay. Let's rock and roll, my friends. Let's rock and roll. 1, 2, 3, go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is the Spaniard, the world's toughest lifelong learner, and this is AMX 608, reading the book The Good Neighbor by Maxwell King, the life and work of Fred Rogers. I was telling Facebook Live, I'm getting to the end of this book, and I'm starting to feel a little bit emotional. For me, reading a book is an experience. It's a period of my life. When I look back through my journal, and I look back through these notes, I see the dates. You know, I see the book titles, I see the dates. That brings me back to a period in my life. So forever I remember, essentially I remember my past by way of books, by way of where I was reading that books at that time. So this book, The Good Neighbor, is a tremendous book. I highly encourage you to check it out. I put a big list together on my website, charliespaniard.com/reading list. So check it out, read a book. Let's jump into the first idea of today, and that is the power of curiosity, or asking questions. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm a curious fella, and I love asking me some questions. There's a quote from the book that says this, quote, "For Rogers, the very act of asking questions and trying to answer them honestly was the key to growing and learning." So for Mr. Rogers, the very act of asking questions, what do you mean about nothing? That is it. Being curious, finding something about which you're curious, and then asking questions. But not only that, he goes on to say, and trying to answer them honestly was the key to growing and learning. So not just asking questions, but responding to questions. Not just with the rote yes, no, but I remember reading, I forget which book it was off the top of my head, but the idea of when you say no to your kids, they ask no. No is a form of protection. I really wish I could recall the book in my mind right now. But no is a form of protection that we put up to then kind of gather ourselves, maybe hit pause, and then proceed. Whereas what we're talking about here is answering questions honestly, not just rote, you've always done it this way, so you're going to do it that way. I was watching a show last night. Actually, I was watching, it's called Meat Eater by a guy named Steve Rinella, who is a fascinating hunter and pretty much philosopher. But he was talking about this idea of doing things and answering things and experiencing things in the here and now, completely mindful of the present, not just doing things because that's the way you've always done it. So think about that, right? So Mr. Rogers is telling us the very act of asking questions and answering them honestly is the key to growing and learning. So think about that. We all know curiosity is a favorable trait. Okay, we know that learning is a favorable habit or a favorable trait, a favorable ideal. But why might you not, think back to school, this got me thinking, why might you not ask questions? Okay, so if we know curiosity can help you live a fulfilling life, why might you not ask questions? Go back to school. Go back to elementary school. Go back to middle school. Go back to high school and then to college. What about that kid that sits in the front row and asks questions? Hint, hint, that was me every class all the time. He's a dork, he's a nerd, oh my gosh. And then what if you ask a question and it's a silly question, or no, it's a stupid question? The reason we don't ask questions, the reason we're afraid to be curious is because we're in our comfort zone and we don't want to be made fun of, or we fear the idea of someone knowing that we don't know. But I want to put you in on a little secret here. This is for me. This is how I operate. This is why I ask questions. This is why I feel that I'm gifted at conducting interviews and mediating conversations. Because for me, the pure desire to know, the absolute pure desire from my soul to know, overpowers any hesitation I might have to ask a question. So if I know, okay, I'm going to ask a question, there's two outcomes here. One, they're going to answer the question and I'm going to know. Or two, it's going to be way off and I'm going to look stupid. Well, to me, the overriding desire to know, just that love of, just that belief and curiosity and learning in that part of my soul overrides the I might look stupid. Look, I've looked stupid plenty of times. I got knocked out on television. I look as stupid as one can look on television. So your vulnerability, listen to this, your vulnerability and your pureness of simply wanting to know, backed by your belief in learning, backed by the fundamental belief in learning. I may ask this question, I may look stupid, people may make fun of me, I don't care because I believe in this thing that is curiosity and I believe in its goodness as it relates to my life and the life of everyone around me. Your vulnerability and your pureness of simply knowing that, backed by your belief in learning, makes it okay to ask. Will someone laugh at you? Or me? Maybe. But it's not about that. It's about learning and it's about this curiosity. And I thought this was really neat too. It talked about how Mr. Rogers, I've been talking a lot about how Mr. Rogers interacts with kids, but I thought this was a neat quote on how he communicates with children. And I really and truly try to implement this into my life. I do implement it in my life. Quote, Rogers never told grieving children that everything will be all right. No such simplistic reassurances. Instead, he shared his feelings about death and loss and the extraordinary truth reaffirmed repeatedly throughout the program that life does go on. So what they're saying there is he actually listens. You remember what I said before about answering questions honestly? He actually listens. He's empathetic. He doesn't just give simplistic reassurances that it's okay, everything will be all right. Just like when he was a kid and the grown-ups told him, just ignore the bullying, they won't care and they'll see you don't care and they'll go away. He didn't believe that. He believed in confronting these feelings. So this makes me, one of my favorite aspects of reading is that it causes me to reflect on the words that come out of my mouth and the interactions I have with other people. Sometimes I chuckle to myself and I ask myself, what does my wife think of me? Because I talk to my 5-year-old and 2-year-old kind of like they're adults sometimes. I'm reasoning, I'm explaining, giving them explanations, remembering, right, from the dichotomy of leadership that the most important reason a leader can give is why. I'm explaining to them, even if they don't get it, I'm practicing the habit and practicing the practice of speaking to them. So Rogers never told grieving children that everything will be all right. No such simplistic reassurances. He shared his feelings about death and loss in the extraordinary truth, reaffirmed repeatedly. That's why I believe in AMX for you and for me, because it's repeatedly throughout the program, throughout our lives. If you tune into AMX every day for the rest of our lives, you're going to get these messages repeated over. Small changes over a period of time equals big results. That is the slight edge, my friends. And to wrap that up, to send that section off, this is from the book. Quote, this is Rogers' signature message. Feelings are all right. This is one of my favorites. Whatever is mentionable is manageable. however confusing and scary life may become. Whatever is mentionable is manageable. And I believe that came from his mentor, Dr. McFarland. Whatever is mentionable is manageable. What's that mean? That means talk it out, folks. Get it out of you. What's mentionable is manageable. They don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows what you're thinking. Hint, hint, Spanny. Your wife doesn't know what you're thinking. You've got to communicate clearly. Your kids don't know what you're thinking. Your class doesn't know what you're thinking. Your colleagues, your coaches, your athletes, your employees, your et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You got to talk. Talk, folks. You can feel stuff. You can cry stuff. You can be open. It's okay. Ask questions. Be vulnerable. This has been AMX 608, studying the book The Good Neighbor. I love talking books. I love talking about learning. So check out my website, charliespaniard.com. It's got my book list. It's got my speaking programs. Connect on social media at Charlie Spaniard. We got a lot of things brewing. But first, folks, go read a book. See ya. Oh, dread. Now I have to record an in and an out. I'm glad I, for whatever reason, thought of you, Dread. So give me a second, folks. If you want to see how the pudding's made. I don't even know if that's a thing. I have to export this, and then I got to record an in and out that I got to send to Dread. Dread, do you happen to have the date, if you're still watching? Do you happen to have the date of the Penn State thing? And also, actually, I can check. Okay, so this is a little bit of downtime here. So that is today's show. That is AIM Excellence. What I'm going to do right now is, I guess, kind of behind the scenes. Never mind, that was 9/17 back in September. PSU, PR. Digital media, PR, digital media. I'm going to call it PR, digital media, Dread. I think that's about right. I don't want to be lonely no more. Give me 1 second, folks. And then I'm going to record an intro. So that is 6:08. The Good Neighbor 12 is right there. Perfect. Now I can delete that. Boom. Now I can create. This is how it's done, folks. Now I'm going to record. So generally when I record these intros and outros, I'm alone, and because I'm alone, I mess them up a lot. But when I have the pressure of having a live audience, it's a lot easier. Okay, Penn State University Park, Penn State College. Bill Zimmerman. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go for it. So this is what we do. This is what we do. Maybe strategically, it should be a little bit more planned out, but this is just kind of what I've always done. So let's rock and roll. Delete track, new track, boom. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I might screw up. You'll just see. You'll see. It'll be fun. 1, 2, 3, go. So right now I'm recording, but Dred's going to cut this, so I'll go right now. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Spaniard Show. We're back today, not with an interview, but with a talk I did at Penn State University over in University Park in State College, PA. It was a talk I did back in September, and this was really neat because it allowed me freedom, honestly. It was a PR/digital media class. So my task or my job, my assignment was to talk about PR, digital media, creating something, developing something. And when I say something, I'm talking a podcast, I'm talking an online presence, I'm talking a book, I'm talking a brand. So this is it's a mix of my personal story, Spanish teacher to UFC fighter, but more so what I really focus on is what it takes to build something. And I think there's a big misconception. I know there's a big misconception on what it takes to build something, or what it means to build something, or how stinking hard it is to build something. And I remember being told this, and I'm learning it and experiencing it now along with Dred, that there's so much out there. There's so much competition for your energy, your brain space, your everything you have as a person to listen to look at, etc., etc. So this is a very real reflection in a real time. Remember, this back in September, so it's about 2 months ago, but a very real assessment of what it takes to be building something. I talk about some of the things we've done, some of the things we're doing, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. Sit back and enjoy this digital media and PR class presented by yours truly, the Spaniard. Enjoy. There's the intro, and now what we're going to do is the outro. There you have it, my friends. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it and appreciated it. I filled you with some nuggets from my story, from the story of building things, even some of the inner workings of a podcast, how they actually work. And when I give these talks, I'm pretty open. I'm a pretty open book, very real about numbers and downloads and the reality. Because the reality is it's not easy. The reality is I'm not even close. Even 2 months after that talk, I'm not even close. I'm actually probably behind where I wanted to be or thought we'd be at this time. But I sincerely appreciate it. If you are a professor, a teacher, a business person who wants to bring a presentation like this to your school, your class, your business, etc., please hop on my website, charliespaniard.com. Check out my speaking programs. You can go directly to charliespaniard.com/booking. But what I present is a very real, very true, very in-your-face, very authentic representation of what it takes to build something, but also the behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff, and it ain't just me. It's my friend Dredd. It's my friend Dredd. A happy belated birthday. Dredd's birthday was on Tuesday, so happy belated birthday to Dredd. But we're just, we're building, and we're figuring out, and we ain't stopping. So tune in, my friends. And then, before you do that, go read a book. Okay, so I kind of butchered the end there. So what I'll do now is I'll say something Dredd can just boom. So there you have it, my friends. Check out the website at Charlie Spaniard on social media as well. And don't forget to go read a book. charliespaniard.com/reading list. Boom. There you have it. So I'm guessing Dredd will do just a little bit of editing there at the end. But what I tend to like to do is speak extemporaneously. So now I got to write PSUIO. Okay. 11/07/18. Yeah, I just like to have a little bit of idea what I'm going to say and then go for it. I've taken extensive notes on intros and outros and generally I sound like a dummy, so I just speak from the heart. I'll see you all tomorrow morning for AMX 609. Don't forget, AMX Kids came out yesterday, and it's a doozy, my friends. See, Dredd, I'll upload this.